Hello, everyone. Thank you so very much for joining us for this month's conversation of Let's Talk Opera. My name is Quill Johnson. I have the honor of being the moderator and the host for this month's episode. This month, we have the privilege and the pleasure of speaking with Fred Owens and Ella Marchment. They'll be telling us about Opera in the Rock's exciting and upcoming season, all of the wonderful jewels that we should pay attention to, and all of the things they hope we take from this amazing season. I love to let people introduce themselves and bring their own voices into the space. So I will ask Ella, let us know who you are, where you are from, and in particular, why the arts, right? Let's start with that.
So this is always a bit of a long-winded question for me, I'm afraid. So my name's Ella Marchment, and I'm primarily an opera director, but I'm also a teacher. I'm a professor at Shenandoah Conservatory, who we're also partnering with this year. I am British, Guyanese, Chinese, English, with parents who live in Spain, and I spend my time between Switzerland and the United States. So if you can get your head around that one, good luck. I also am artistic director of a festival in Chicago dedicated to Italian opera. And I've just today come from opening a premiere of Marco Damo's Little Women, which was the UK premiere of the piece 25 years after it was first composed. I should maybe add that I feel very strongly about supporting especially women in opera, and I run a charity in the UK called SWOPRA, which is supporting women and parents in opera, because we feel like parenthood is obviously quite a big barrier for women returning to work.
Thank you for joining us. And next we have Fred. Fred, let us know who you are, where you're from, how you're feeling today, and why the arts.
Great. Thank you all so much for participating in this conversation. My name is Fred Owens. I'm the president, CEO of Opera in the Rock. I am a native Arkansan, so I spend my time dually between here and New York City. For the last 20 years, I've resided in New York City. I've done a wide range of things. I have my undergraduate degree is from the University of Arkansas at Little Rock. Go Trojans. My master's degree is from the New School, where I have a master's degree in nonprofit management. I've worked at Lincoln Center for the Performing Arts. I've worked for Nederlander Producing Company, which is a Broadway producing company, for several years. I've worked for a microfinance company, Girl Scouts of the USA, and I lead an organization in New York City. It's a youth development organization, and we partner with Department of Education. So I am all over the place. Why the arts? The arts, for me, started when I was a little boy, and my aunt, who was a very religious person, would often be the person who coordinated the church's production of the Easter performance of the Crucifixion. So it became a major production, and that was the thing that gave me the arts bug. And ever since, I've been very actively involved and engaged in the arts, and love the arts, and have a strong passion for the arts and the success of it, particularly here in my home state of Arkansas. I think it's very important that we be able to have artistic expression on a major level here in the state of Arkansas, as many other states do. So,
Thank you for sharing, and welcome to the conversation.
Thank you.
Of course, you're both sharing about the arts, and this is about opera. So let's talk opera. Ella, why opera? What got you interested into this art form? And of course, Fred, I'll ask you the same.
So I'm not from a typical opera background. I was a music scholar at my school, which in Britain, we have this kind of, you get a better education if you're good at music. So it was my way in, it was an entry point. And interestingly, actually, this weekend, my mom's family, they're Caribbean, South American, Chinese, and my uncle had never been to an opera. He'd never been to the theatre, and he came to see Little Women. And first of all, he called up to say, is there music? And secondly is Ella on stage? So it's been a real learning curve, actually. But age 16, we have to have 2 weeks of work experience. It's obligatory in schools. And there was a company called Dorset Opera, which is an amateur chorus where the professional choir with the professional soloists, and my school said, you need to go along and do this. And I went, oh no, it's opera, it's so lame, I don't get why are you making me do this? And I went to go and help backstage, and they gave me 100 meters of curtains to iron. And those of you who know me, I never iron. It's like I'm allergic to it. And the artistic director came up to me and said, you're a music scholar, you're also a dancer, why are you not singing in my chorus? And I went, oh no, because it's really lame. And he said, I'm not giving you a choice. And he put me on stage, and I eat my words, because it was the most life-changing experience of my life. I was so overwhelmed by the sense of community. I finally felt like I belonged for the first time. It felt like I combined all of my interests. And so age 16, I went, I want to do this. And it took me 2 more years to realize that I wanted to direct, and only ironically by someone, I was singing in the chorus again and walking on stage. And I went, this is all my interest. I think I'm going to give this a go, and haven't looked back since. But especially because of that route into opera, I'm very, very, very keen at every level to both challenge and question what opera actually is, and also to be bringing a wider range of people into the industry. Because had I not been in the right place at the right time with a series of very fortunate events, there's no way I would have given it a chance. I had such a stigma against it, and combating that, especially with younger children and adults, I think is really crucial.
Beautifully said. Thank you so much for sharing. I'm excited to dive deeper into that. Like, Fred, let us know, why opera? What got you interested into this art form?
It's really interesting. There are critics of Fred Owens here in the great state of Arkansas, and I recently had a conversation with one who said to me, well, you have no opera experience, and what do you know about the opera? Of course, this person knows not who I am or nothing about me. So there was a stigma that was attached to me. And we can dive deeper into that, and why I suspect that stigma was attached. But I do know quite a bit about opera. In college, I started my college career at a university called Henderson State University, which is no longer in existence in the form that it was when I was there. And they had a beautiful choral music program. And one of the opportunities that was presented to us choral music students was to come to Little Rock, Arkansas, and perform Mahler's Second Symphony with the Arkansas Symphony Orchestra at the time. And I knew nothing about Mahler, or I knew nothing about orchestral work on that level. And so listening to Mahler and being able to sing Mahler inspired me to want to learn more about orchestral work, but not only orchestral work, but operatic works as well. So, and I have a degree from the University of Arkansas that required that we do some level of work around opera. So I just love when people pass judgment and say things that they don't necessarily know what they're talking about. And, even educators should educate themselves before making judgment. That was my experience started my experience with the opera. And ever since then, I've been very actively engaged in theater, more so, but I've lived in New York for the last 20 years and have been afforded the opportunity to go to the Metropolitan Opera and see many operas over the years because of different programs that allowed, folks who didn't have $1 million to spend on the opera to go and see it. So I think that's why it's very important that, first of all, people educate themselves before passing judgment. And, opera is something that I've been very, very passionate about for quite some time.
Thank you both for sharing. I love, so in listening, right, and in finding the connections, I love what you said, and that you found the community in opera. There's such a community in opera. Opera is such a collaborative art form. Everything you do has to deal with someone else's job. And opera, for all the music nerds, fellow music nerds, opera is the plural of opus, and opus means work. So opera means many works, and we're putting many artworks, many works, many efforts, many voices, many people together to tell a story. So I appreciate you sharing that, Ella. And then Fred, I also appreciate you challenging not just the stigma that comes with opera, but the stigma of who enjoys opera and who does not, who belongs in opera, to whom opera belongs and to whom it does not, right? And as we continue to break those barriers and understanding that in community, opera belongs to everybody. Everybody belongs in opera. It is just, as you said, Ella, how do we disrupt the systems, and how do we disrupt the stigma? How do we disrupt the barriers so that people can truly access this art form in a meaningful way?
My biggest question is, I'm sorry to jump in.
No, go for it.
Follow off that point. My biggest question is, where does that stigma come from? Because it clearly was in me by the time I was 16 years old, but I don't know why and who that opinion was given by. Was it family? Was it just lack of exposure? I don't know.
And in many ways, what I find is that it is based on the stories we are told about opera, right? Opera is different. Let's not pretend like it is not, right? Opera requires a different type of focus sometimes because of the stories that we have been telling. It can require a different focus in the stories that we will tell, yes. And you put all of these things together in this dark room and you say, hey, you need to pay attention, this is opera. That has been accompanied by people's, not just assumptions, but people's reiteration of who does and who does not belong. Here, particularly in the United States, it's been, oh, it's opera, that is fancy. You have to dress up in your best and you go and have a night out on the town. Definitely different from its origins in Europe. In a lot of ways, but the stigma as it continues to grow is still there. In opera is different. Like you kept saying, opera's lame. Opera's not fun. Opera's not exciting. There's so much that you have to do in order to actually enjoy opera. When the truth is, once we break down those barriers, once we look at the fact that we're telling human stories, we can tell stories about anything and anybody. And we can put all these art forms together to do it. I think that is how we continue this path of removing that stigma from opera. So I thank you for that question.
And 99% of the time, as soon as people are through the door, they absolutely love it and they're lost in the power of it. It's just encouraging people to take that leap.
Yep. And that's why so many organizations, so many stewards of opera, we all have an obligation to make sure that it is getting people to know about it, getting people in the door, and ensuring that once people are in the door, they are having a meaningful and a rewarding time, and whatever that means, right? It's not just getting them in the door and we hope that the art form takes care of itself. It is a lot of times getting people in the door and us being mindful, just as you are in the season, of what it means for people to see something that matters and then to say, ooh, I think I want to try that. Or what it means when someone's teacher forces them to go out and to try it, for them to be like, you know what, I actually enjoyed this, and to be able to continue in that way.
Yeah, and I just want to piggyback, and I don't want to give the critics too much power, but there is power in criticism. And the reason I'm having this is because this conversation that I recently had is so fresh with this person, and the initial statement from the person was that I don't trust you. So trust, if the initial response to me is a lack of trust, how is it that, first of all, we can provide a platform for people to come into the opera to trust that we're going to provide them with something that's interesting? And secondly, how do you, if there is no trust, how do you expect that, for an example, people of color will trust that opera can provide them with something of substance, or that opera is even welcoming to them? I'm a big guy and I can take criticism very well, But if I'm an educator and I have a group of students that come into my classroom, and for whatever reason, let's say that they are a person of color, I don't trust them initially. What am I sending out into the world?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Or what am I, if I don't trust, how can I educate?
Yeah, yeah. And if you don't open up the space for people to not just to learn, but to shape. We've been having a lot of discussions in opera about co-creation, because so much of opera is collaborative work. It is creating
Right.
together. People have
Right.
not been given the space in the room and truly the authority in many ways to co-create the operatic space together.
Right.
So
And
I'm seeing, even for you, Fred, right, as a person of color, as a Black person, as a fellow Black person, the stigma that comes with, oh, that's not us, when in fact it is in so many ways,
Absolutely.
especially here in the United States, because our role has always been present in the work of the United States. And for you, Ella, and your multiplicity of identities, you also at a young age saying, I don't want to do that, that's lame. You're at a young age, at 16, to say, this is not the happening spot. The opera is not what's up. Opera is not the most popular, most exciting thing. And it is very much also can be attributed to who do we normally see in opera.
Right.
We start to feel that we belong. We start to feel that things matter. We start to feel that, yes, this is something I can do. This is something I'd like to try. Often when we see others who have a similar identity in some way doing the same thing, I don't know how many 16-year-olds I've seen doing opera in the audiences at opera, right? We know that there is a shift happening now more so than ever, but this has been a very long journey and a long battle, especially of the work of those who came before us, to ensure that other identities are present in opera. So we're battling, in what I'm seeing, the desire to open up such a collaborative space while navigating the assumptions about what opera is, what opera can be, and who, again, can be a part of opera and who can create and shape opera.
Right. And I think it's interesting too that a person or people or groups of people would forego participation in opera because they don't like the leader of the organization. So you're going to throw away the entire art form because you don't like the leader?
Well,
I mean, and that leads into all of the stigmas that people are. It leads into more stigmas, that more barriers, more misconceptions about what opera is, and it can potentially turn people away. So opera already have many barriers to entry. There's the cost, there's the getting the dress, the getting the car service to the theater, paying for your parking, this, that, and the other, and the elitism of it all. But then to completely turn your back away from the art form because you don't like a leader is very interesting to me. And it also raises a question for me: how committed to the arts are you really?
That's fair.
But I guess ultimately it's about finding the positivity in every situation. And
Absolutely.
I've had people criticize me saying, you're too nice to do this job, you need to be tougher. And I'm not going to change who I am to do this job. I'm going to lead in the way that I want to lead. And if people come with me, they come with me. But it's not worth me changing like my personality at the core. And I think that the best thing with the best action is positive action, and to prove, that's why I started founding companies, because I was trying to commission people, because I wanted there to be more people to have a chance in creating stuff in the UK. And we commissioned over 30 pieces, and we had over 3,000 people come through our work within about 5 years. So I knew everyone in the UK that was creating, because it wasn't just singers, you could help a larger variety of people. And I think that I'm a firm believer of doing and being the change that we want to see.
Nice.
Absolutely. And that's what you and I are actively doing here in Little Rock. We're actually being the change that we want to see. And well, we'll get into this part of the conversation, but we're doing something here that no other opera company in the world or country is doing, and I'll let you lead into that whenever you're ready for that. But
Yes. As we do kind of go straight into that conversation, for this coming season, right, it is definitely dedicated to the Black experience in a lot of ways, or to the Black community, not so much a Black experience, but to the Black community, and to the contributions to the artistic creativity, to the brilliance and the impact of the Black community. In particular, for you, Ella, you are the artistic director of Opera in the Rock. So can you share a bit more about what your role entails? What does that mean to be the artistic director? And then what most inspires you about this season?
So Fred, I have to give credit to Fred, because this was the brainchild of Fred. Fred had already started, the wheels were already in motion when I came on board, but we are planning future seasons together now as well. I thought Fred proposed this idea to me, and I thought it was absolutely genius, and I thought I wanted to be involved with it. I'm obviously in a bit more of a complex position, because I'm a mixed race artist, and I go to Asian auditions, they say you're not Asian enough, people go, you're not Caribbean enough. So I've always felt like a bit of an outsider. So I feel like in this attempt, and I don't want to give too much away about future seasons, but we're looking at different forms of people who are maybe kind of sidelined within the genre, and trying to give them a platform, because unless we take major steps to disrupt, rather than, and the beautiful thing about Opera in the Rock is we are small enough to be able to just go, right, we're going to do it, rather than, okay, well, in 3 years we might, because opera is a big beast, and that's the beauty of it in many, many ways. But it just means that change it's hard to make immediate change, and we are at the liberty to be able to go, okay, we're going to do a whole season celebrating the Black African American experience. We can do it, and that's amazing. And I'm just looking forward to seeing the artists coming through the door. I've just been on this job in the UK. I mean, I've had a wonderful, wonderful time, but I'm the only mixed race person in the room, and there's one other person of color on the other side of the team. And in comparison, England versus America, you kind of realize, yeah, there's a lot of, Europe, we're behind in a way.
Thank you for sharing. Thank you for kind of letting us know your role in this, and then what inspires you and what you're really excited about. And I appreciate even more so that you're excited, yes, for the pieces that will be presented, the stories that will be shared, but the people, right? You're excited to be in community with people, because opera, right? Fred, I have a similar question for you. As the CEO of Opera in the Rock, as Ella just shared, this was your brainchild. So can you tell us a bit more about your role, and what in particular about this coming season is extremely inspiring to you?
Sure. So my role as president CEO is to run the day-to-day operations of the organization, fundraise, and produce a season. And also do community outreach. And one of the things that we're doing is in the process of initiating our arts and education program. Opera in the Rock is a small company. It's a fairly new company. It's been around for about 8 years or so, and it's gone through some interesting transitions in its 8 years of life. So what we're trying to do, what I had to do when I first came into the organization, was determine, what this organization is going to be moving forward. So we went through a major rebrand. We wanted to make the organization a bit more accessible to the larger Little Rock community. And we want to make Opera in the Rock an organization that people will say, oh, yeah, we know who they are. I was afforded the opportunity to go to Opera America recently, And the question was asked when I said I was representing Opera in the Rock. Many people said, well, where's Opera in the Rock? What is Opera in the Rock? But I want to change that trajectory. So next year when I go to Opera America, I want people to say, oh yeah, we know Opera in the Rock because of the wonderful work that we've produced.
Yeah, because of the right reasons as well.
For all the right reasons, yeah, for the wonderful work that we've produced in Little Rock, Arkansas. And the great and unique thing about Little Rock, Arkansas is that there is probably not the expectation that the greatness of this season is going to present. There's not the expectation that it would be coming from Little Rock, Arkansas. So not only do we want to represent opera, but we want to represent the state of Arkansas and say, listen, we're doing really great things down here, and this is a place that you want to come and see really magnificent, cutting edge things happening, like a season that is dedicated to the African American experience. I am most excited about this season because what it affords us the opportunity to do is put folks who, under normal circumstances, in many cases, would not be able to be on the stage. So we've got a whole slew of African descent people who will be performing like throughout the entire season. And I'm just really excited about that experience and bringing that experience to Little Rock, Arkansas, a town that has, it's the home of the Little Rock Nine. Say more about that particular situation. So I think it's a beautiful, beautiful opportunity for us to say, this is who we are, this is what we're doing, and we do support folks of color here more than a lot of other organizations might. And we want to say to the world that it's important for you to do the same thing that we're doing. If we can do it in Little Rock, Arkansas, other opera companies can choose to do it in larger places as well, too.
Can I just add one thing? Because I think Fred said a really interesting point that's made me think about something new. Very often I've been in the room as kind of the only female or the only person who's not strictly white. And you feel like, am I there because of my talent, or am I there because I'm ticking a box? And actually, by nature of doing this season, everybody is from the same community pretty much. So you're not there as, you're not there feeling like, you're there to serve that just a nominal purpose. You're there because we really want to enjoy and share and celebrate and elevate for a season.
Yes, beautifully said. There are so many things that the Arkansas community and the global community can look forward to for this coming season, right? In particular, there is the exciting gala that will be happening in September with the one and only amazing Denise Graves. So I'm extremely excited about that as well. I would like to ask for both of you, as you're considering how this work is serving the community, how this work is creating community, how your decisions are leading Opera in the Rock down this path, right, of serving the community, of being present, of representing and celebrating different communities and different voices that should already be a part of opera and that are a part of opera, right? What do you hope people take away from this season? What do you hope people take away from engagement with Little Rock? I will start with Fred, and then Ella, I'll have you answer the same question. Fred, what do you hope?
Listen, this is the I want people to realize that this is not about Fred Owens. This is about the art. This is about opera. This is about bringing something to the state of Arkansas that has never been done before. What I want people to take away from this season is an experience that is like none other. I mean, we are, and I want people to understand that this is for the community of Little Rock. Opera in Little Rock is open to anyone who wants to have the experience. And we hope that through some of our community partners and sponsors, we will be able to offer discounted tickets to folks who might not be able to afford the normal ticket price. That work is in progress as we speak. So we want to let people know that this season is for the community. It is an experience that folks will experience it from the Black perspective, which I think is absolutely wonderful. And we want to be the model for opera companies around the country to do the same, because it's something that's very, very easy to do if you choose to do it. So
Nice. Thank you for sharing. Ella, what do you want people to take away from the season, to gain, to receive?
I want people to take away a fulfilling experience, which means that they will have tried something different or seen something that they haven't seen before. You know, we're not really doing, we have got the Porgy and Bess concert, but apart from that, everything is kind of different or unique. And I'm really looking forward to doing Highway 1, which is the William Grant Still piece, which is William Grant Still grew up. Spent quite a lot of his childhood in Little Rock. So it feels like it's actually like we're somehow bringing the piece home as well. I guess what I want people to take away is a call to action, actually. I want them to go away and I want them to challenge themselves in what they're experiencing. I want them to feel like they're more inclined to try something different, to think outside the box, and also to be bold and take risks.
Mm-hmm. Beautiful, both of you. Thank you so much for your time today. Thank you to everyone who's watched this particular month's episode of Let's Talk Opera. Looking forward to continuing to have these conversations about opera, about community, about what it means to welcome people into the space, what it means to expand this art form so that it truly fits more voices, more communities, and more experiences. Make sure you get your tickets. They are on sale officially August the 1st for this amazing season for Opera in the Rock. We look forward to seeing you in the Rock for these performances for this community. Thank you.